Today, our class focus is on the psoas muscle. The psoas muscle and the hip flexors. The psoas plays a vital role in our stress response. So when we feel fearful or scared, there's a fight or flight or freeze response that happens. So when we feel fear, our psoas constricts. It comes into a ball to protect us, or it helps us run away from danger, or kick and fight our way through it. So it's a natural response to stress and fear. Your psoas can also get really tight from sitting all day, even standing all day, or doing different sporting activities like running and walking and jogging and kicking. We also store a lot of this stress in our psoas. So, when we feel fearful, our psoas is going to constrict. And if we don't deal with that fear, we hold on to that tension. And so therefore, a tight psoas can also mean that we are have an overbooked schedule, or we're holding on to stress and tension and worry and fear. Unfortunately, a tight psoas can lead to more anxiety and more stress, and can lead to pain. It can lead to back pain, knee pain, hip pain. It's really common when you have a tight psoas to not be able to activate your glutes very much, to have weak glutes. And so therefore, this can also cause an imbalance in your strength and can cause long-term pain. So having a tight psoas is not just like, oh, my muscle's tight. The tight psoas can actually make us feel more anxiety. It can cause other body parts to feel more pain, and it can become long-term, especially if we haven't dealt with stretching out the muscle and also dealt with how we are responding to stress. So yoga is an opportunity to give us some tools to be able to deal with our lives, deal with stress. And so integrating yoga and meditation and some breath work and focusing on trying to relax the psoas, and at the same time learning to deal with our stress, can be really vital in our own overall health. So today's class is going to be an opportunity to stretch the psoas, giving us time to breathe and sink into these postures. Taking that time, we can also reflect on our intention in class, and also maybe reflect on how our breathing patterns are. So it's hard to relax if our breathing is at high pace. So really trying to stay with long, deep breaths to help calm the nervous system and relax our psoas muscle. So for the AIReal Yoga class that we're going to do, we're going to be using the hammock low. We're going to be using it around the knee, or just below the knee. So if you are standing directly underneath your point and you press tension down, you can see that I have it just below my knee crease. And this is because I'm going to want to have it underneath my knee crease, so when I'm doing a lunge, the hammock isn't lifting my foot off of the mat. You might also want to have 2 blocks, as we're going to be focusing on the psoas muscle. We'll be doing high lunge and low lunge and runner's lunge. They're amazing stretches for the psoas and the hip flexors. And so if you're feeling really tight, you might want to have 2 blocks so we can put the hands on. That is an option. We will also be putting our knee down on the mat for low lunge. So if you would like to have a blanket, that could also be some nice padding for your knee. All right, so let's get to this psoas release using the AIReal Yoga hammock, really low, just a little below the knee. To begin, we'll start with a slow sun salutation. Come to the front of your mat. Feet together or stacked underneath your hips, whatever feels best for you. Palms at the heart center, pressing into all four corners of the feet. Close the eyes. We'll begin to focus on the breath. This will help pull focus into our practice. Throughout the practice, continue to pull focus into your breath, keeping long, deep breaths to help relax the body and the mind. I like to use Ujjayi breath, breathing through the nose, constricting the throat on the exhale as I activate the core. It's also nice to hear my breath. It reminds me about my breath. Take a couple more breaths as you have an opportunity to set intentions for your class. Ribs in, tailbone drawn down, shoulders actively drawing away from the ears, legs active, neck neutral. Slight bend in the knees. On your next inhale, reach the arms up for the ceiling. Open the arms out wide as you shoot energy out the fingers, and on your exhale, hinge over into a forward fold. We'll stay here for a couple rounds of breath. Make sure that the belly is on the thighs, the neck is relaxed. If you need to bend your knees, go for it, especially if it's too much for the hamstrings. Allow all the blood to rush to the brain, help calm the mind. On your next inhale, slide the hands up the shins, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Place the hands on the mat. We're going to step back into our plank. We're going to hold here for a couple rounds of breath. Little scoop of the pelvis, draw the ribs in, draw the core in. Shoulders should be stacked over your wrists, fingers wide, thumb not so wide. Activate that core. We're going to slowly shift down onto the belly. So on your next inhale, shift forward, pushing through the toes. Scoop of the pelvis as we draw the knees to the mat, elbows hug into the body as we allow the belly to come down onto the mat. Pointing those toes, flointing the foot so the top of the foot is pressed into the mat. Inhale, lengthen through the spine as you open, drawing the shoulders back and down for cobra. Hands should be underneath your shoulders. Keep trying to pull your heart forward as you lengthen and extend, legs active, kneecaps off the mat. Take another long inhale. On your exhale, drop the knees down to the mat, scoop of the pelvis as you press into the hands, tuck those toes, hips up and back. Exhale, downward facing dog. Again, a couple breaths here. Go ahead and bend one knee at a time. Relax the neck. Press evenly into the hands as you lengthen through the spine. A sun salutation can be a wonderful warm-up to prepare you for a class, or it can be a class in and of itself. On your next inhale, look forward, walk your feet in between your hands. Exhale, release in a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, forward fold. Take another inhale, bend those knees, and on your exhale, slowly round, walk the hands up the legs as we come back to standing. Inhale the shoulders up to the ears. Exhale them around, back and down. Inhale, reach those arms out wide. Palms come together above you. And exhale as the hands float back to the heart center as we finish our circle. Deep inhale through the nose. And exhale, release out the mouth. Go ahead and release the hands. We're going to come behind the hammock. So you're going to have your feet in the center or just behind the center, holding on to the hammock like a loop, one hand on each side. And we're going to step through the center. So the hammock is going to be under the knee. So first we need to create tension in the hammock. So draw down in the hammock. Shift your weight over to the left leg. Draw that right knee into the chest. And then step over the hammock. We want our center to be in the center, so make sure your center's in the center. And then stepping forward with the right foot and stepping back with the left leg, maybe about 3 feet. This will depend on your flexibility and your height. We're going to begin in high lunge. So the hammock is underneath your leg. If it's up too high, it will be pulling your heel off the mat. So you want to be able to have your right foot grounded into the mat, being able to press through all 4 corners. Pressing down into the ball of that back leg, the left foot. Left heel is driving up towards the ceiling. So first we're just going to have a slight press forward as we draw the tailbone down, draw the belly in, and have a scoop. So we don't want our ribs out. We want to draw our ribs in, scoop of the pelvis. Shoulders down as we press forward. Draw the right hip back, left hip forward, and keep pressing down into the ball of that left foot. Nice deep long breaths. Then we want to slide the hands up to our head height, hold on, and now we're going to pull down on the hammock. Elbows hug in. We're going to pull down on the hammock as we keep scooping of the pelvis, keeping the ribs in and lengthen through the spine, and keep pressing down into the ball of the back foot. Feeling that opening in the left psoas, the front of the left leg. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend and pull down, scoop of the pelvis. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend and pull down. Inhale, straighten that front leg. Exhale, bend that front knee, pull down. Take another long inhale and exhale. Now we're going to transition and bring the arms through the center and the chest as we hinge over, reaching down into the runner's lunge. Making sure the hammock is still underneath the knee. And you can use blocks to support you in your runner's lunge at any height, just depending on where you're at with your flexibility and what feels comfortable. Or just to use them to see and feel the posture in new ways. We'll stay here for a couple rounds of breath. You want to make sure your right knee is stacked over the right ankle or even a little bit behind, but don't let that knee come in front of your right toes. Keeping those hips square. Left leg is behind us, straight and active. We're going to do a revolved runner's lunge. Going to reach that right arm up for the hammock. So you'll see there's the right side of the hammock that my right arm could reach for, or we could reach for the left side, which is what I prefer. It's going to help us with our twist. Left hand is stacked underneath our left shoulder. We're going to be pulling down on the hammock to lengthen through the spine as we twist to look up towards that right hand. Keep drawing that right hip back, lengthen through the spine as we twist. If it's too much to pull down, you can have a straight arm just pressing into the hammock. Nice big belly breaths as we do this revolved runner's lunge. If it's too much for your balance, you can keep your focus down. Another long inhale. On your exhale, draw your ribs in, draw your core in as we unwind, bringing the right hand back down to the mat or the block. From here, I'd like for you to draw the left knee to the mat for a low lunge. And as you see, I had to come up on the heel and pull the hammock forward. It was sliding down the leg. That is quite normal, but we want it to come into the knee crease. For low lunge, we have our back knee down. This again, if you need to have a blanket, and if you would like to have blocks, or you can keep your hands on the mat. Either way. Your right knee should be stacked over your right ankle. When you feel solid, reach that right arm up to the right side and let the right shoulder come back in the back of the hammock. And then reach that left hand up to grab onto the hammock. So now we have the hammock in front of us. Come on up to neutral, squaring the hips, pressing the left toes onto the mat. We're going to start by pulling down on the hammock, hands at head height, elbows in. Pull down as we draw the tailbone down, draw the belly in, and scoop, ribs in. It's almost like someone punches you in the ribs. That's that scooping action. The scooping action also lets us get into the front of the back leg, pulling down to help open the psoas. You can continue that extension as long as you keep your ribs in. Deep breaths into where you feel tension. Inhale, straighten up that right leg, or as straight as it can. And exhale, bend and press the hands forward. Inhale, straighten up. Exhale, bend, pressing the hands forward. Scoop the pelvis. Inhale, pull down, straighten the front leg, and then bend that front knee. Scoop the pelvis. Go ahead, bend. Draw your hips back to the hips, to your back left heel. Bend the front knee. Just release both hands down. The head's going to be to the inside of the hammock. Just taking a moment to rest. These deep stretches can be quite fiery and can get cardiovascular as we work to soften and release. On your next inhale, reach on up for the hammock. Pull yourself back up to a low lunge. Exhale when you get there. Holding on with the left hand just above the head. Take your right arm and we're going to cross it behind our hips, trying to reach for the outside of our left leg. Turning the palm in, slide the hand down towards the ankle as much as you feel comfortable. Lengthen through the spine, and then you can start to soften into that right knee. If it's too much, just bring the right hand to the outside of the left hip as you let your torso come back. Or you can start to slide. Softening the hips. Take another deep inhale. On your exhale, pull down onto the hammock, draw the ribs in to come back to neutral. Hold it onto the hammock at your head height, one hand on each side. Tuck those back toes under, and let's pull ourselves back up to our high lunge. Inhale, straighten up that right leg. Exhale, sink into the high lunge. Inhale, straighten up the right leg. Exhale, sink into that high lunge. One more. Inhale, straighten up that front leg. Exhale, bend that front knee. Holding on to the hammock with our left hand. You can pull down for more support or press forward. Take that right hand. We're going to do a nice little revolved in our high lunge. Outside of your left hip, keep those shoulders back, core back, and begin to lay back with a twist, or you can slide the hand down your back leg. Sinking in to that front right knee. Take another deep inhale. On your exhale, pull down onto the hammock to come back up to your lunge. One hand on each side. Take one step up, one at a time with each hand. Take a deep inhale. On your exhale, bend both knees and pull yourself up to stand. Slide those hands down the hammock, pull down for some tension, and we're going to slide the hammock down the leg to the ankle. Hips square, left hip stacked over your left ankle. Your right leg is hovering a little bit over the floor. Hands at shoulder height. Press forward with the hands as you draw your right hip back and try and get your belly onto that front thigh. Take another deep inhale. On your exhale, press down into the hammock and step. So now the gathered hammock is in the arch of the foot. Slide your hands up just above your head, but make sure your arms are bent, shoulders are down. Come on up to the ball of the foot on an inhale. On your exhale, draw your ribs in, push down into that right foot and pull yourself up. Little core and arm work. Take an inhale as we slowly lay back. Don't straighten your arms all the way. Keep the shoulders engaged. Keep your core active. Take another deep inhale. On your exhale, bend, pulling yourself back to a stand. Take another inhale. On your exhale, step down with the left leg. Roll the wrists around 3 times in one direction, 3 times in the other direction. Take a long inhale. On your exhale, release that foot. We're going to transition now to the other side. Standing in the center, holding on to the hammock, one hand on each side. Pull down so there's tension in the hammock. Shift your way over to the right leg as you draw the left knee in to the chest and step over. We're going to make our way into a high lunge. I'm going to have to move my block to the side. So find your high lunge. You want to have your center in the center. Left knee is bent, hips are square, back leg is active. If it's hard to square up the hips, have a slight bend. This will help you square, pressing down into the ball of the foot. As the back heel rises up, you can begin to try to straighten up the leg, but if it's still too much, you can have a slight bend when you're in your high lunge. So from here, we're going to hold on to the hammock at your shoulder height and then press it forward as we scoop the pelvis, drawing the belly in and the ribs in, shoulders actively drawing away from the ears. Feeling a nice opening in the front of the back leg. Nice long deep breaths. Watch out from this hinge forward, the desire to not get that stretch. So you want to have your torso in the center, draw your tailbone down, belly in, ribs in. There's this scoop as we continue to draw the torso back, but with our ribs in. On your next inhale, reach on up, and on your exhale, you're going to pull down on the hammock while you continue to really open up this lunge, trying to bend in the front knee and really trying to lengthen the front of the back leg, having the hammock to support us and then pulling down on it to give us a little lift so we can go into a nice deep stretch. Keeping the breath through the nose. Inhale, straighten up that left leg. Exhale, bend that front knee. Inhale, straighten up. Exhale, bend that front knee. One more time, inhale, straighten up, and exhale, bend. Pulling down or pushing forward, whatever seems to help deepen the back leg, deepen the stretch. Take an inhale, straighten up that left leg, and then exhale. We're going to reach both arms through and hinge forward so we can reach the mat. You might need to pull the hammock underneath the knee. And again, this is a good place for blocks. Your runner's lunge, you might have the flexibility to actually have a longer or wider stance. Just make sure that your hips are square. So you're pulling your left hip back now and your right hip forward to help keep them square so the pelvis is neutral. And your left knee is stacked over your left ankles. We'll stay here for a couple rounds of breath. A deeper runner's lunge would be without the blocks, the hands stacked underneath the shoulders. If you're using the blocks are stacked underneath your shoulders. We're going to go into our revolved runner's lunge. So you want to lengthen through the spine. As you reach that left arm up, not that left side, we're going to go for the opposite side, the right side. You can press into it to help lengthen through the spine as you twist, or you can pull down for a deeper twist. Right hand is stacked underneath your right shoulder. Keep lengthening the spine and drawing that left hip back as we twist. Pulling down to deepen. Continue to lengthen through the spine as you twist. Big belly breaths to help cleanse. Or you can press your arms straight and into the hammock for support while you're twisting. For most people, they'll probably feel stable enough now to get a nice deep twist and to feel comfortable to look up. Take another big inhale. Then on your exhale, press into that right hand. Draw the ribs in. Draw the belly in to unwind. We're going to slowly lower our back knee to the mat for low lunge. You might need to walk your blocks back, or you might need to pull your hammock forward. Take a couple breaths with the back knee on the mat, hips square. You can tuck the toes for more support, or you can flank the toes and press the top of the foot into the mat. From our low lunge, we're also going to do a revolved twist. So that same thing, you want the block or the hand stacked underneath your right shoulder. Lengthen through the spine first. Draw that left hip back, and then you can reach up for the hammock. Getting your elbow on the outside of it is going to give you some more support. Pressing into it to help lengthen, or pulling down to deepen the twist. You can keep your focus down, or you can look up. Keep pressing down into that right hand to support, give you stability. Keep lengthening while you twist. Softening your weight and energy down into that left leg as the hammock supports you. Take another deep inhale. On your exhale, draw your ribs in to slowly unwind. Finding some stability, you're going to reach your left arm up, grab onto the hammock, bring your shoulder around back, and then reach your right arm up, and you can pull yourself to neutral. We're in low lunge, back knee is on the mat, hips are nice and square. If you feel like your knee is coming over your ankle, then you're going to want to bring your hips into the center and then maybe step your front foot out. It's very important that we don't let the knee, especially in low lunge, go over the toes. Inhale, straighten up that left leg as much as you can. Exhale, bend, scoop the pelvis, draw the shoulders down. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend that left knee, scoop the pelvis. Draw your tailbone down. Inhale, straighten that left knee, and exhale, bend, draw your ribs in. Pull down onto the hammock to give you some space. Gives you space so you can really open up that right psoas and the hip flexor. You can also press forward if that helps you. Everyone's going to be at different places, whether they need a little weight off their joints or if they need to lengthen, whatever feels right. Keep deep breaths through the nose. Take another inhale on that exhale. Let's draw the hips back so the hips are going to go towards that right heel. Bend the left knee. Just take a couple breaths as we bow forward. Head is on the inside or to the right of the hammock. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Come on up to seated. Grab on and exhale. Let's come back up to our low lunge. We're going to do revolved. I like to do revolved because if I reach back with the same arm as same back leg, a lot of people tend to turn their back hip out. This can be an awesome stretch, though, if you can stay square. But when we're doing revolved, it seems a little bit more challenging to turn our back hip out. So we're going to do our low lunge revolved. Grabbing onto the hammock at your head height, taking your left arm, reaching around behind you to the outside of your right hip. And then we're going to bring our torso back, but with our ribs in. Then we're going to continue to extend the spine. You could also slide your hand down that back leg. You can pull down to help deepen. And you can start to sink into that front knee, your left knee. Keep trying to draw your ribs in. Make sure your hips are square. So your left hip is going back, the right hip forward. You can also press the hammock forward. If it's too much, just keep the hand onto the outside of the right hip. Take a big inhale. On your exhale, pull down into the hammock to support you as you unwind. One hand on each side while in our low lunge. Tuck those back toes under, and we're going to reach forward back into our runner's lunge. Then you're going to reach that right arm up for the hammock, that left arm up for the hammock, and we're going to pull ourselves up into our high lunge. You might need to narrow your stance, bend your back leg, square up those hips. Hips are in the center, then press into the ball of that right foot, bending into that right knee. Take a long inhale, exhale, scoop, drawing those shoulders down, belly in, ribs in, really lengthening in that back leg. We're going to hold on with the right hand, reach the left hand behind us to the outside of the right hip as we lengthen through the spine and continue to extend to revolved, high lunge, bend into that left knee. If it's more supportive, you can pull down on the hammock. Another long inhale. On your exhale, pull down to help you transition with the ribs in, coming back to center. Grabbing on, one hand on each side, bend your back knee. Take an inhale. On your exhale, pull yourself up to a stand. We're going to bring our right foot in the center, and we're going to slide the hammock down our left leg. Hands at shoulder height as you press the hammock forward. Draw your left hip back. Watch out for locking that right leg, so maybe a slight bend. You can also flex your left foot for a deeper stretch as we try and get our belly onto our front thigh. Deep inhale. On your exhale, bend those elbows, and we're going to bring the hammock into the arch of the foot as I reach up above my head, elbows slightly bent, elbows forward. Pull down on the hammock to come to the ball of my right foot, ribs in, shoulders down, core active. Take a long inhale. On the exhale, press into the left foot to come up to a stand, keeping the elbows hugged in. This is great strength for chaturanga. Take another deep inhale. Slowly exhale. See if you can start to straighten your arms, but keep your core really active. But don't go all the way straight as we keep our shoulders active. Take another inhale. On your exhale, bend, pulling yourself back up to neutral and slowly stepping down. And we can release that left leg. Take a deep inhale and exhale. We're going to go into our star inversion with the hammock this low. You could put a blanket for additional padding. We're going to have our shoulders on the mat, and our head is also going to touch. The hammock is still going to lift us, though, so we're not going to have too much weight. Although you might want to have also a blanket folded underneath your shoulders, kind of like a shoulder stand. So we're going to bring it around behind us, and then I want you to have your hands wider than your hips and squat down so we can bring the hammock into the sacrum, in our lower back. We don't want to bring it lower than our tailbone. So we're going to press it into our sacrum as we squat down. And then we're going to start to step forward like we're going to come into a reverse table. Keep our focus forward as we bring our feet together for bound angle, slowly coming on to the mat. So I like to put my head closer to the front so this creates a little bit more traction. So you can bring your head to the front of your mat or the back of your mat, depending. If you want to put a blanket underneath the shoulders, you can. And then open those legs out into straddle. There's a slight pike of the hips. And again, the hammock is in the lower back. You can even bring the hands into the lower back and press into the hammock to help create some traction. You want to draw your shoulders down, actively drawing the shoulders away from the ears, like a shoulder stand. Let's point, flex 3 times, and roll the ankles 3 times in one direction, 3 times in the other direction. Activate the core. Pike a little bit more as we bend our knees and bring the soles of our feet together for a bound angle. If you bring your hands onto the mat, like our bridge, hands at shoulder distance, arms extended, palms on the mat, drawing the shoulders down. You can do a little twist. Keep the breath through the nose. And now extend that right leg out to the right, like a straddle. And then slowly allow it to rotate around to the back, like we were in a split. Bend your right knee. Maybe your toe touches, maybe not. But don't let your ribs come out to let it touch. Keep the ribs in. And then if you can reach with your right hand, you can help pull your toes to the mat. Continue to draw the belly in and the ribs in. Try not to put this into the spine. Really allow for this to get into the hip flexor, psoas quad. You could pull it towards your heel towards your bottom, or what I like to do is try and pull my toes to the mat. If you can't reach your foot, that's okay, just stay with it bent. Make sure your hips stay square, so if you see your right knee going out to the right, pull your foot towards the right, and that will help square your hips. Take another deep inhale. On your exhale, release, turning both palms on the mat. Straighten up that right leg. Take another inhale and exhale, and then slowly rotate that right leg out to straddle and around the front back to bound angle. As we release that left leg now out to straddle, straight and rotating it around behind us for a single stag, then bending. If you can grab with the same arm, you can grab on the inside of the ankle or outside, or inside of the foot or outside. Draw your belly in and draw your ribs in. Put long, deep breaths into softening, into where you feel that tension. On your next exhale, release that back leg, straighten it up. Take a long inhale and exhale, and then bring that left leg out to the side and around through to the front. If you want to press on the thighs for a little traction and draw the shoulders away from the ears. Reach the arms above the head. So your palms are facing the ceiling. Look up at the feet, activate the core, and you're going to reach up for the hammock below the feet. And release, bringing the feet around behind the hammock, pulling up as you bring your feet down to the mat. We're going to bring our hips into the center, extending the legs in front of us. Flex the feet. Relax the feet. Interlace the fingers behind the head, lengthen through the spine, let yourself just lay back. If you're finding it hard to lay back, you might need to move your hips farther forward. And if you want, you can also release the arms. Reach up, grab on for the hammock, take an inhale. On your exhale, pull yourself up to seated. Reaching the hands above you. Flex the feet, bend the knees. You're going to want to have your belly trying to get onto your thigh. Sorry, I had to reach up for the mic. Bend your knees, reach up. Hinge over so your belly's on your thighs. And then slowly continue to hinge forward and let the hammock slide over your head. Now we're in wrist wrap. You can allow your feet to extend as long as you keep belly on the thighs. You can soften the neck. Long inhale through the nose, looking at the feet. On your exhale, bend the elbows, pull down and pull your torso up to neutral. We're going to crisscross the feet for easy pose. Bringing the hands at shoulder distance. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, hinging forward. If you want to have a slight bend of the elbows, you can. Or if you want to hinge over more, you can bend your elbows more and turn your wrists inward. Going back to long, deep breaths through the nose. And then we can have a slow sway side to side, keeping your sit bones on the mat. Swaying as fast or slow that you want, as big or little as you want. It's important that we activate and stretch our psoas, but it's also going to be important that we give it time just to relax. That's where we're venturing off to very soon. Slow the sway back into the center. Take a long inhale as you lengthen through the spine, and exhale. Pull yourself back up to neutral. Bring your palms together, elbows bent. Deep inhale through the nose, and exhale, release out the mouth. Inhale the shoulders up to the ears. Exhale them around, back, and down. Stay holding on with your left hand, but release your right. Your right hand is going to reach towards the back of the mat. You're going to come onto your right hip. You're on your right forearm. Bring your left leg out to the left and around through and into the hammock. So the idea is that we have our left leg in the hammock, and then we're going to roll over onto our back. You want your hips in the center, lying down, and bring the fingers behind the head, draw the head up so your neck is nice and long. Then we're going to bring the right foot in. Both feet are in the hammock. This is a variation of legs up a wall. Turning your palms up. Just going to take a moment to rock side to side and prepare our body to go into a very relaxing posture. The legs are slightly above the heart, so it's a mild inversion, helping to calm the mind and reduce stress and anxiety. And we're going to do little circles. So sway to the right, bend your knees in, sway to the left and straighten. 3 circles, kind of like you're stirring the pot in each direction. And the other way. Slowly bend both knees in. Activate the core. Draw the lower back to the mat as we reach for the hammock. We want to ungather it. So we want to open it up so our feet are in, and it's coming all the way up to underneath our knees. And some of you might feel best if your heels hang out. Some of you might feel more comfortable with the feet in. But ultimately, we're going to want to shift our hips a little bit farther down away from the center so then we can bend our knees. And we want our knees stacked over our hips. And we want to be able to have this relaxed legs up a wall while the knees are bent. So you don't want to be holding it. Like if you feel like the hammock is pulling you that way and you have to pull it in, then you're going to need to scoot a little bit farther down the mat. But you also don't want to feel like it's pushing so far into you that we're going to hinge and cut off the circulation. So it's a happy medium. Usually it's with the hips in the center, but you want to be able to have the knees bent, the neck neutral. There is going to be a slight arch in the lower back. It's a natural curve, palms facing up. It's kind of like if you can imagine that your legs are on the chair, your calves are on the chair. So knees are bent. The idea is that you want to be able to totally relax the psoas, the hip flexors, and just let go. If bending to 90 degrees causes tension, you can have a little bit less bend. We just don't want to be in straight. We want to be able to have the hammock supporting our knees so they're not going to hyperextend. Then go ahead and close your eyes as you soften the shoulders and soften your breath. And just allow the breath to flow freely. If you're having trouble relaxing, you can have a gentle sway side to side or maybe little circles. Sometimes a little bit of movement can prepare the body to relax until you can find your happy place where you feel like you can just let go. And once you're there, we're just going to let go. Soften the jaw. Take the tongue off the roof of the mouth. This is a great posture to do anytime throughout the day, but if you're feeling like your psoas is getting tight, or if you're feeling anxiety, maybe just lying down, putting your legs in the hammock, or lying down and putting your legs up on the chair or the couch. Anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. I'm going to let you be for another minute. So just let the breath flow freely. Take a deep inhale through the nose and exhale, release out the mouth. Have a gentle rock side to side. Wiggle the fingers. Bend the knees in. Take another gentle rock side to side. Straighten and bend a couple times. And or rock side to side, whatever feels good as you slowly reawaken the body. Big inhale as you reach the arms over the head. And exhale, scoop of the pelvis, draw the lower back into the mat, bend the knees, and then bring the feet up to the ceiling. So we release the hammock, hugging the knees into the chest. Reaching the feet up for the ceiling, grabbing on the outside edge. Happy baby. You can take a little rock side to side. Bend your elbows. Draw your shoulders away from your ears. Draw your tailbone onto the mat. Another long inhale, and then on your exhale, we're going to grab onto the hammock We're going to take a couple rock and rolls until you feel comfortable to rock on up to easy pose. Release the hammock behind you. Reach the hands behind you, bringing the feet on the mat and bring them just a little bit wider than your hips. Draw the right knee down towards the center. Long inhale and exhale as you draw your ribs in. Inhale, left knee towards the center. Elongate. On your exhale, draw the ribs in. So a little windshield wiper. Holding for a couple breaths with the right knee in towards the center. Ribs in as we transition. Left knee down towards the center. On your next exhale, ribs in, belly in. I'm going to transition to the knees. Going to get into the hammock, even though it's nice and low. Going to get into our floating Shavasana. Of course, if you would like to offer Shavasana on the mat, you're more than welcome. Otherwise, we're going to want to grab onto an edge of the hammock and gather about 3 to 5 handfuls of fabric. I'm going to stay holding on to that fabric with the right hand and the thumb on the inside. And then turn around. So both hands have gathered hammock on the same opening. Hands wider than your hips. You're on your kneeling with your toes tucked under, like broken toe pose. If you come on up, bring the hips up, you should be able to push the hammock underneath your bottom. And you can get your little booty in the center and bring the gathered hammock to the edge underneath your knee. Reach behind you for the hammock where there's that opening. Open it up like wings as you gently lay back into the hammock. Now bring your heels into the edge of the hammock and straighten up your legs so you're fully immersed into the hammock. Feet side by side. Palms together as the hands reach above you in opposition of the toes. Take a gentle sway side to side. And then finding a comfortable position with the arms, you might want to just bend the elbows so the hands are on the top of the head. Or maybe you want to bend the elbows so the hands come out of the hammock. Or hands at the shoulders. Whatever's most comfortable for you. Making our way there. Just allow the breath to flow freely. Soften the jaw. Close the eyes. Soften the legs. Just allow yourself to melt into the hammock. Letting the hammock hold you, support you. Learning to find ways to calm our anxiety, release our fear is essential so we cannot let the stress continue to live inside us, so we can find tools and ways to let it go and release it and not let it hold us back and not let it cause us more fear or more pain. These yoga postures are clues to you as to what you need. If you have a tight psoas, it might be a sign that you have an overbooked schedule, or you're overreacting to stress, or you're fearful. It's not to judge, just to understand and work to reduce our tension, reduce our anxiety. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Exhale, release out the mouth. Allow the hammock to hold you and support you. You are safe. You are light. You are loved. Take a deep inhale through the nose and exhale out the mouth. Wiggle the fingers, the toes. Inhale, reach long above you. Take a gentle reach side to side as you exhale. Deep breaths as you awaken the body. Bringing the feet out of the hammock, bending the knees. You'll feel your feet on the mat. Place the feet on the mat. You can take a gentle rock forward and back. Reach the hands up for the ceiling. Roll the wrists around 3 times in each direction. And then grab onto the hammock. With an inhale, pull yourself up to seated. Exhale, when you get to the seated position, then reach your hands out wide so the hammock drops down under the arms, bringing the palms together. Long spine, shoulders down. Reach the hands up above the head. Take a step back, and you can draw the hips forward as you come onto the knees. Reach the hands forward as you walk to the front of the mat. Coming into easy pose. Palms together, close the eyes. Let's seal the practice with an Om together. Deep inhale. Inhale, hold your breath at your peak, and exhale, release. Namaste. Om Shanti. Thank you for sharing your practice with me with our Psoas release using the hammock as an amazing prop for AIReal Yoga. Much love.